this is Spark of Imagination here, and welcome back to another Disney Speedstorm YouTube video. As many of you remember, I have recently gotten my Figment to Ultimate Champion, which was, by the way, the most exciting thing that has ever happened. And today, I think it's finally the time for me to share my experiences and tips and tricks on how to master Figment. I go by One Spark on Disney Speedstorm, or also known as the Figment Boss. I'm the boss for Figment, not to flex that or anything like that, but I have been using Figment ever since he was released in Season 1 during the Monsters Incorporated season, and I've been using him and practicing him ever since, especially both in regulated multiplayer and in ranked multiplayer before all this change has happened. Now, in the very beginning of Figment's release, Figment was not necessarily the best racer in the game. Actually, as a matter of fact, Figment was considered one of the worst racers to ever release in Disney Speedstorm when he was released. Now that he has really gotten a really decent buff, he's now to some high players, he is a B tier, high B tier racer. In my opinion, he is an S tier, but that's because, you know, I'm a Figment person and I love Figment very much. So, and also because I think there's just a lot of techniques having to go through just in order to master Figment. And I think that's a great option for me to just share with you guys how you will be able to master Figment with ease and how to get up with the ranks without having your entire ranking destroyed. Now, with that being said, I'm going to go on ahead and get started with a few things. Now, a few experiences I would like to share is that my entire experience with racing with Figment in ranked multiplayer was actually pretty interestingly difficult. At the very beginning, my Figment started at a low, below level 20 area. The highest I ever got my Figment, because since Figment shards were very unavailable during the seasons, especially when Figment was released and during the upcoming seasons, it was impossible to get Figment shards unless I played through ranked multiplayer, which at the time you were only able to do solo matches. And being able to go through that experience was not as enjoyable as I thought it would be. It was more stressful trying to rank up Figment to a certain area just to get shards for him. I had to technically wait for another Figment event to just go on ahead and start getting his shards, or just spend a lot of money on getting his Figment shards, because during the past of Disney Speedstorm, and not really much anymore, but trying to get his shards was more of a pay to win kind of thing. You had to pay money to get his shards, and that's what I did. Now, Figment, in my opinion, as I said before, is a very, very good racer. I think there's really no problem with him. I think he is a really good high B tier, but in my opinion and in my own heart, Figment is an S tier. Getting him to Ultimate Champion was 100% the best thing of my life. Now, my experience, you know, as I said before, it was just a really, really stressful. I think that competing with a very low level Figment was not very much fun, especially when I was trying to get most of his items, especially when it came to the higher ranks such as Emerald and then Diamond. Now, ever since the update came along for Inside Out, it was much better to play team mode instead of playing solos, because by then it was a lot easier to actually rank up Figment to a certain area in the game rather than having to deal with it in the previous seasons where there was no such thing as having an option for ranked multiplayer. So what I'm going to go on ahead and do is I'm going to go on ahead and show you guys a few tips and tricks on how to master Figment. Now, as I said before, Figment is pretty easy to use, and as long as you have practiced with him a lot, you're someone like me who spent constant hours just grinding with Figment and trying to master him a little bit more. I'm going to be showing you guys how to get through these kinds of tips and tricks and how to master Figment, no matter the level and no matter what kind of crew members that you have. So let's go on ahead and jump right into our first race. Now, as I will say, is that in ranked multiplayer, of course, you're going to be dealing with a lot of very difficult players and a lot of tryhards and sweats, which is absolutely no problem whatsoever. As long as you know how to race Figment like I do, then you should be able to get past it with ease. So of course the startup for Figment is very, very difficult. I would just kind of wait on the second bell to start. And then what I usually do is when I get his unique perk, his unique skill, I just wait until it is time to use it. I would not use his skill when you're getting hit with an object. I would kind of wait on that until that's at least surpassed. Now what I like to do is I don't want to use his charge. I always want to use his regular unique skill activation because it'll automatically give you a high enough boost. And I always recommend, as long as you're going at high speed, I always recommend that you hop, because when you do that, you get a full-fledged speed boost while in the air, which allows you to surpass racers with ease. Now, of course, Figment has a cloak, and since I have him at max and at 5-star, his cloak lasts for a very, very long time. So it's always best to always use that cloak whenever you can. However, I don't want you to waste the cloak. I would also always want you to make sure that you use that cloak for reasonable purposes only. Now, same thing with the dash. I would just always hop on him, kind of like make sure he gets that extra boost. And of course, when you're drifting with Figment, always make sure that you're maintaining your boost. Considering that he is a trickster, you'll be able to maintain his boost literally the entire game, as long as you know how to perfectly drift. So of course, it's very easy to master Figment, no matter the level. I think it's very, very easy, in my own opinion, to use him. I mean, sure, it's probably going to take a few struggles from here and there, but it's just always easy to just kind of like take your time with Figment. Don't really rush much in the game just to get him somewhere, because you know, if you're stressing out over trying to get Figment to a certain rank, I would just not really focus on that stress. Just kind of worry about more on paying attention on your driving ethics when it comes to using Figment. But as long as you use these tips and tricks that I have been providing, you'll be able to rank up Figment with ease. Now, you gotta remember, I started Figment at below 20, and it was a huge struggle, especially when I started using him in ranked multiplayer. It's not really much of a fun experience having to go through something like that, but it gave me a lot of time to practice more with Figment than just worrying about losing points if that actually ever occurred. So you see, of course, I'm just constantly using the boost, drifting, and just waiting for my rear tires to turn into a light color so that I can just go on ahead and just use the boost. So I'm going to show you again. I'm just going to use his normal unique activation. I'm going to hop. And I know that wasn't really that well turned out, but it's okay. If I get another one, I'll show you how to properly do it so that you guys know how to use them. So it's always great to use his unique skill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop, because you have to do it at a certain time whenever he uses his activation for his unique skill. Once again, you do not want to use his charge skill, because if you use his charge skill, it's not very much going to do anything. I mean, sure, it's going to blind the players behind you with a little spark of imagination, but it's not really much going to do a decent job than just using his regular activation for his unique skill. So I'm just going to focus on getting through these corners. Chop. There we go. Oh, and see, that was... I mean, you guys kind of get the point. I mean, even though that was some bad corner taking, which that's my fault, but I'm pretty sure you guys get the point how to technically use him whenever you use his regular activation. Like I said, it's pretty easy to use, but of course it takes some skill to try to use Figment. I mean, like, he's a good racer, and I think that he has a really decent, you know, ability and skill set. Of course, since I have him at 5 stars and at such low crew members, it is kind of difficult to try to get cloaks. I mean, his cloak is at a 5, and same thing with his hack, and same thing with his dash. But it's really uncommon to actually get Figment's cloak whenever you are racing in just a regular race, in regulated multiplayer or ranked multiplayer. Now, of course, as I will explain through my own experience, ranking Figment up to Ultimate Champion was certainly a struggle. I think that there was a lot more struggle than actually winning a few competitions between a really good amount of really decently played players. But I think in general, like as long as you feel motivated and determined to get Figment to a certain rank, then I would just continue just going forward with it and just not giving up on it. Because, you know, Figment, like I said, like he's a really good racer. I love him very much, and I know how to use this guy. And you know, just getting him to Ultimate Champion was an experience like no other. Especially like when I firstly got him to Diamond and Champion, that was certainly a experience that I've never felt before, and it felt really great. But as the last tips I want to give out with you guys is when you're using Figment, just be careful on your surroundings, especially when you're just taking corners and then dealing with other players like players who use Jumba, Jesse, Aladdin, a few other racers. Figment's main weakness racer is 100% Jumba. I think Jumba is probably the biggest racer that you have to worry about, especially when it comes to you know, competing in the ranked multiplayer races. I've been experiencing a lot of very difficult racers from time to time when I was ranking up Figment, and you know, I think over time I've gotten used to trying to defeat those racers like Hans, Jasmine, Jumba, sometimes Jesse, and sometimes Elizabeth Swan. And I mean, because those are his weak racers that you don't really want to go up against. But however, you will still be able to conquer those racers regardless. But like I said, it's just gonna take some time to get used to practicing with Figment. And I think sooner or later, as you practice more with Figment, you'll be able to know how to use him. I think that's very easy for him to be used on the track, no matter which rank you're playing. And you know, it's just always great to get to learn him a little bit more as you're continuously playing the game. But anyways, that is it for today's video. I thank you guys very much for watching. Hopefully you guys find these tips and tricks very useful when you are planning to take Figment to the higher ranks or to start grinding Figment. Just FYI, I wish you guys the best of luck if you're grinding Figment to a certain rank. Like I said, it's very easy to rank him no matter the level and no matter how many stars you guys have for him. He's a very good racer to use, and you just got to take a little bit of time to practice him more just to be able to master him like I have. But anyways, you guys, once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in for today's video. I highly appreciate it. And once again, I hope you guys find this this tip and trick guide very useful. If you have any more tips and tricks you want to provide on how to use Figment, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And maybe there'll be some people who will be able to check out those comments and try them out for themselves. If you're someone who's just trying to get started with Figment, just take your time with him. Don't really rush when it comes to trying to master him, because it's, I mean, depending on what level and what crew members you have, I mean, it's gonna get a little bit difficult at the beginning, but as long as you feel determined and encouraged to get him to somewhere in the whole entire rank system, it should be easy to at least get him somewhere. So, but anyways, you guys, this is Spark of Imagination, and I will see you guys in the next video, and remember to keep sparking with your imagination.